Welcome to the feature match of top 16 of Gold Grand Prix Osnabrück. 135 players, 135 hopefuls entered the event. Only 16 remain after 8 grueling rounds of Swiss. And 2 of them are Sebastian on the left and Amma on the right. And for Amma, this is not the first time he's experiencing playing the top card of Gold Grand Prix Osnabrück, because he made the top card last year as well. He reached top 8 and lost there against the eventual winner Svenny Boy, who's also still left in contention. Sebastian with his very first German Gold Grand Prix top. Amma is playing Chaos Control on the right and Sebastian with Warrior on the left. Amma only setting a back row and passing to Sebastian. Amma also, I mentioned this before, a very, very important human guy, man. I didn't know how to declare him. He's a very, very important for the German Gold community. Basically, everything you see on stream, the complete layout, is from him. He designed everything. He designed the playmats, also the playmat you see on board there. And he's doing a lot of stuff in the background. He also organized the event. He was part of the organization team. So really, really cool that he was also able to play the event. And this was also his birthday. So he's trying to give himself the best birthday present possible. But first, he has to face quite the onslaught by Sebastian, who, started off with a breaker, which got rid of Torrential Tribute. I mean, breaker died in the process, but then Delinquent Do as well was activated, getting rid of Mirror Force, and now Amma lost both mass removals already, and let's not forget that Sebastian opened up his turn with Pot of Greed. So what a beginning from Sebastian. The matchup is not in his favor here. Chaos Control is favored against Warrior, but if Warrior opens up that well, it is an uphill battle even with a good matchup. So let's see if Amma can still somehow claim that game 1. And we see that back row gets dust tornadoed here by Sebastian. So he doesn't get Amma his feet on the ground. And you see it if you're looking at Amma's face. He looks stressed, he looks tired. He looks a bit annoyed, which is understandable if you're in that dire of a situation. He has a set monster and 2 cards in hand left, and Sebastian continues to reduce his resources using his Exiled Force to get rid of Magician of Faith. So all Amma has left are his 3 cards, which are in his hand, and he needs to bring some to the field to protect himself from the oncoming onslaught, which the Warrior player will most likely throw at him. Sebastian, that is, obviously, and Donzaluk is hitting the board, which will not only be able to apply pressure to, but also reduce the resources of Amma even further. That's very, very crucial here, getting another card in the grave, and it is a Black Luster Soldier, which wasn't live at that point, I believe. But now it will never be live in that game because it is dead. It is sitting there in the grave. Amma is now forced to set every single card in his hand to not get blown out by Donzaluk again, but Don can still do quite some damage to Amma's life points, who's now down to 5-2 and desperately needs to find an answer against that Donzaluk. And it is a good start to summon a monster which I can't quite recognize here, to be honest. I don't know what it is. It's quite a bit of glare. Okay, it was Azura. Okay, it was Azura. That does make sense here, because it is able to attack over Don and gets back to Amma's hand in the end phase. So the question is, what other monster Sebastian wants to commit now? He has plenty of cards in hand, which means plenty of options to put the pressure on, to keep the pressure on Amma, to not let him get back into this game, because it is clearly in Sebastian's favor from his first turn onwards. Pre-Major Burial on Don. That Don is relentless. It definitely does not stop to harass Amma here. And Don can now be able to again reduce his life points and get rid of that Azura. Revenge is best served cold, and it's very cold how Don now gets rid of that Azura in Amma's hand, which was previously able to defeat him in battle, but now he is not anymore. So Amma is left to find something from the top of his deck to deal with that Donzaluk. Question is, can he do so? And it is at least not a monster. He only sets a back row. But Control has quite some tools to bide their time against Warrior, something like goats, and then you can find a metamorphosis or creature swap. But Amma doesn't seem to find it until now, because the newly drawn card was that all needed scapegoat, and now Amma can relax a bit behind his tokens. Sebastian will get rid of one of them at least. But yeah, now Amma has some time on his hands and maybe some tools to work with. And there is some tool you can combine with a goat token, which is Metamorphosis, which would be able to control that on the loop. The question is if Sebastian is fine with Amma activating it. And he is reluctant. He is checking his back row cards numerous times, so there's potentially a Solemn Judgment sitting there waiting to be activated. But do you want to activate it now? That's the question Sebastian is asking himself, and the answer he comes up with is yes. He doesn't want that Metamorphosis to hit the bot. It does make sense because Amma has quite reduced resources, so you don't want to give him any time and any way to come back here. And Amma's top deck was a Thunder Dragon, which is not a bad card, but is not what you necessarily want to see if you desperately need cards. I mean, yeah, you do +1, you get 2 cards, for the discard of 1, but they are not really useful at the moment. You do need to draw something like Aggressive Charity to make them work. Let's see if Amma has enough time to do so. It is very late at that point in the evening. I believe it was like 10 p.m, so both players have to be tired, but they have to be on top of their game. 135 players in attendance means 4 invites are giving out, so top 4 will qualify for Worlds, which means both players are only 2 match wins from qualifying to Worlds. So this match is very, very important for both of them. Amma still can't find anything to apply pressure to Sebastian, who gets rid of the tokens with level 2 and on the look, and now gets hit by a trap. Does shoot, but he has a lot of resources, so it's not as devastating as it could be. Blade Knight gets shuffled back, leaving Sebastian with a trap dust shoot of his own, Snatch Steal, and Tribe Infecting Virus. So he can try to go for a game shot here. With Tribe, he has combined attack power of 3,900 life points, which would be enough to wipe out Amma's 3,800 points. Question is, does he want to do it? Does he maybe have a Solemn for protection, or is he, doesn't he want to overextend? I mean, Mirror Force and Torrential are both gone, so I believe you just have to go with it, and he doesn't. Maybe he should have checked Amma's graveyard to confirm that there is no mass removal to punish him, because let's remember, he forced out Torrential first turn with Breaker, and he discarded Mirror Force with Duo, but Sebastian has game anyway because he has Call of the 104 Breaker. I still think that further extending with Tribe would have been a bit safer, because if Amma had 1 backward to prevent 1 attack, he would have lived there. But if you summon the Tribe, he wouldn't have survived it anyways. But yeah, it worked out fine for Sebastian, who is now 1 game away from securing his spot into the top 8 of God Grand Prix Osnabrück. I mean, matchup is still very much in Amma's favor. It does hurt to lose game 1, but he has to be comfortable that, this is the only loss he will give his opponent. I believe this is probably going through his mind here. He has to be very confident in that matchup, but let's see. We are jumping right into game 2 with Amma starting here with 6 cards in hand. Make that 5 because 1 hits the board face down as a spell or trap card. So Sebastian again has an open board to work with, and he again opened up with Breaker. And you see Amma's hand gesture. He's like, really? Again? Yeah, really, again. Sometimes Goat is very cruel. Let's see if the back row is something chainable. And Amma is thinking on the activation of Breaker's effect to destroy the spell trap. So it's maybe a Raigeki break you can chain it, because Jar or the Goat you would chain, no question asked. I also believe you would chain Ring right away. And indeed is a Raigeki break. Discarding a second copy of Raigeki break, so you still make -1 if you're Amma. But at least you prevented some damage here. But Breaker did its job like it did in game 1. It can go to rest now. Sebastian only sets 1 back row and plays back to Amma here, who, wasn't in one position which is in his favor like this whole match. And he has to feel a bit desperate now. But it's still really early here in game 2. Anything can happen. but there's no way to commit a monster here. Maybe he doesn't want to, or he can't, because he only sets a back row again. So Sebastian once again sitting here in the driver's seat and is able to take the steering wheel in the way he wants. Sasuke is his way to apply some pressure. It does connect to Amma. This doesn't mean that Amma has nothing to protect his life points. Maybe he didn't want to use it because it's only 1-8. He doesn't lose any resources for it. And again, it's still very early. He still has plenty of life points left. Again, no monster from Amma. There's, yeah, like, he doesn't really get his foot onto the ground here. Onto the dueling ground. Only a set back row. Sasuke attacks again, but now the sheeps are there to protect Amma. At least 3 of them are, because one falls victim to Sasuke's mighty sword. Another set a monster from Sebastian, giving play right back to Amma, who draws into, yeah, plenty resources. And now, again, he still has cards left like Metamorphosis, like Creature Swap, which are all usable with goats. Maybe he bricked on them, not being able to resolve goats before. Now he has them. And now he potentially can make some offensive plays for the first time in this game. Sebastian has another monster to protect himself from that set aggressive plays. This was a good precaution measurement. Let's see if it works out the way he wants to. Amma seems to have some options, and he starts us off with a Mystical Space from getting rid of that Call of the Haunted, which can be chained to bring back Breaker, but yeah, Breaker would be destroyed in resolution anyway, so no need to do that here. And now Amma is left thinking, and we do see Snatch Steal being activated, and we see a token being turned into deck position because there is Creature Swap as well, so Amma is able to get both of his opponent's monster in trade of only one. Sasuke now attacks and deals some damage to Sebastian. We don't know what Sebastian got from what Amma now got from Sebastian. This could be plenty. Maybe Sebastian did bot into some flips, which is very common nowadays in the warrior strategy. And now Sebastian unfortunately drops the card on the table, on the floor. I mean, it's late. It was very, very late, and I'm very impressed by how well these duelists continue to play at this late of an hour. I don't know if I personally would be able to still bring my A game, but these two players certainly can. That's one of the big reasons they are here sitting in the top card of God Grand Prix Osnabrück. Now that the confusion is sorted out, Sebastian is again looking at the sand and thinking about the options he has. To take here. Because for the very first time in this whole match, Amma is some kind of in a winning position. So let's see if Sebastian can play around that. There's a spy being normal summoned by Sebastian. This gives us a little bit of intel into his siding strategy, and maybe the set monster from Amma is also a spy, because why would you normal a spy if you have another one in deck? So that's very likely here. And let's see. Amma draws a card and now is left thinking what to do here. If this indeed is a spy, this would be very nice for Amma, because he would be able to summon his own spy from his deck. And it is, because Amma is playing spies in his Chaos Control, which is very usual right now at the moment. Like, you usually play 2 spies main deck in the Chaos Control strategy, because this card is just too good to not play. And now Amma tries to get rid of the spy from Sebastian, but no, Mirror Force says no, and it's kind of funny to Mirror Force 2 monsters of your opponent and then send them both to your own grave because they are your own monsters. This is not happening often, but yeah, so Amma got full value of the fact that he was able to steal Sebastian's monster. He's losing 2 monsters to Mirror Force, but yeah, again, it wasn't his own, so he still made value out of them. Now Amma is sitting on his own spy, which is sitting pretty for him, because he can relax behind it. And Nobleman from Sebastian at least foils the plan from Amma to get back some powerful spells like Snatch Steal, like Creature Swap, or even Scapegoat, which are all sitting in Amma's graveyard. So Sebastian has to breathe a sigh of relief to get rid of them there. And we also see another flip, which Sebastian bought it in, or maybe even main deck, which is a Magician of Faith. That's very usual in Warrior nowadays. Like, in the past, you would see Warrior players main and side decking no flips at all. But yeah, it is. Players found out that it is pretty good to at least side deck some flips, because most players will side deck out Noblemans against you, and then you can freely use them as you want to. And also, it gives your deck some more tools than just basically summoning monsters and attacking. Makes it more versatile and makes it more difficult to beat. Amma is finding a Thunder Dragon, like in a almost similar situation as he found it in game 2. It isn't really that useful. And we see a very, in game 1 I wanted to say, and we see a very interesting play. Amma is only adding 1 Thunder Dragon. He cycles through all 3 of his deck, but he discards 2 and only keeps 1, which may look like a misplay here, but it is actually a very good play to play around the Trap Dust Shoot of Sebastian, because Amma is navigating his hand size in a way that he is only ever holding 3 cards, not 4, because as soon as you hold a 4th card, your opponent can hit you with that Trap Dust Shoot, which Warrior loves to play 3 copies of. So that's the reason why Amma wants to reduce his hand size here, and he figures he doesn't need to have 2 Thunder Dragons in hand, because if Amma now draws for turn, he will draw 2 free cards. If he would have kept that 2 Thunder Dragons, he would have drawn 2 4 cards. Pre-Major Burial is an excellent play here from Sebastian, because he still has that Sasuke in the graveyard, which is having a really exhausting work day, like working for Sebastian, then working for Amma, then going to grave, finally resting, and then having to work for Sebastian again. Sasuke will give him the option to clear that spy, and Sasuke is crashing into the Mirror Force for the 2nd time this game. This poor samurai, I believe he will not be able to look at any mirror for weeks after this match. Yeah, Amma was able to exactly clear the same board as Sebastian did. And we see Golem Sentry being flipped. What an interesting tech card by Amma. It is sitting in a side deck, and it's usually used against Turbo, I wanted to believe. But no, Amma is also side decking it against Warrior. I mean, it's decent. It has 1,800 defense, which is nothing to sneeze at, which can block some Warrior plays here. And it's, yeah, can rob the Warrior player his normal sum. I mean, it does crash into Sakuretsu armor here, which is not that devastating, because yeah, it did the job. It slowed down Sebastian in the end. It get rid of a back row as well. And now Blade Knight being summoned. And now, yeah, I think maybe it wasn't the correct play to Sakuretsu armor that Golem, because Blade Knight would have been able to attack over it anyway, because Golem was on 1-8 defense. Maybe Sebastian picked up the Blade Knight for turn and didn't saw it earlier, and then he drew it and was like, ah, damn, there's the out for Golem, which does happen a lot in Gold. It's a very fast game where you see a lot of turns and top deck a lot of cards, and sometimes you wish that you would have known sooner what you would top deck. Amma did draw into Tsukuyomi at some point in this match, because he is able to clear the Blade Knight of the Bastion with it. And yeah, Amma is sitting pretty here. Yeah. That's how you can say it, because there's two uses of the word pretty in the English language. Fascinating. He's sitting in a pretty good spot here. And that's... Here you can see how good the matchup for control against Warrior really is. Because if you don't get crushed in the early game, you have plenty of time to mount up your resources and pick out the Warrior resources bit by bit. You have quite a strong defense, and the offense of Warrior can have a problem with that. Jar of Greed being activated by Amma, who now has plenty of cards in hand. There was no point in playing around to Dust Shoot anymore, but Sebastian doesn't have a second copy. So no harm done. Yeah, maybe... Did he resolve to Dust Shoot this game? I don't remember. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. It's so much happening here. It's such an exciting game. I can't even keep up from the comfort of my own... From my own home, and I can't even speak anymore. I can't imagine how the players must feel playing the 9th match of Yu-Gi-Oh! At that day. Now we have a Chaos Monster hitting the board. The first time in this whole match, it is the Black Luster Soldier, which is able to get rid of a Spirit Reaper from Sebastian. Also a card which becomes more and more popular by the day in the Warrior strategy. And now Amma figures he doesn't want to have a spy in defense anymore. He just attacks with it to deal some pressure. Yeah, I mean, the bigger threat for Sebastian is the Black Luster Soldier on the board, so no harm done in losing a spy here. But losing your BLS to your opponent would be a lot of harm done. And that's why that snatch play by Sebastian is very, very threatening for Amma. Does he have a response? He does have a response, but a costly one. It is Ring of Destruction, which he chains to try to destroy his own Black Luster Soldier, which would deal a big amount of damage to both players. But it would at least not give your opponent the Black Luster Soldier. And Sebastian is now thinking a lot, so maybe he has a Solemn Judgment face down. And I believe if you have one face down, you have to activate it here, because then you have a game shot on board. You can try to attack for game if you Solemn here. And I mean, if Amma is forced to ring here, he probably doesn't have a lot of back row. So yeah, let's see. Maybe Sebastian has another option to chain here. Yeah, but if you have a Solemn, I definitely would have activated it and tried to go for game with it. But Sebastian opted to not activate his face down card. Both players get massive damage. And now, yeah, it did get punished for Amma to put a spy into attack. Because Blade Knight can now clear it from the board, leaving Amma on only 2,400 life points, but still plenty of options in hand left. What can he do here? He can summon Tsukuyomi, and there's that Solemn, and I believe this was definitely not the correct time to activate that Solemn, because Sebastian knew about the Tsukuyomi in hand. So if you're forced to Solemn there anyway, just try to go for game. Again, I believe, if I'm not miscalculating, he should have had a game shot. Yeah, he definitely had a game shot. He had 6,800 damage on board with BLS attacking over Spy, attacking directly, and then Spy following suit. So this was not the correct play for Sebastian in hindsight. And then I also believe, like, maybe it was because he is tired, maybe because it was the pressure of the top card in the feature match, but he definitely made a misplay there, which does happen. Like, everyone makes mistakes, and this one cost Sebastian, because Amma is able to close the game out with that Chaos Hawk, which was summoned after Tsukuyomi. Sebastian was not able to find an out against it in 2 turns. And Amma closes out game 2. He got away with that one. Again, we don't know the back row of Amma. Maybe it was something which would have foiled that Solemn Judgment game shot plan, but I would have at least tried. But now Sebastian has to, go in with a fresh mind into that game 3. It's still everything to play for, and he is sitting in the driver's seat because he's able to start this matchup. And if you start before, yeah, maybe with a shoot, or even better with a duo. Like, these opening hands of Sebastian, they just keep on coming. Nothing to do about that if your Amma and duo gets rid of Magician, which is a very powerful card. I mean, it is at least light, so maybe Amma can abuse that later. And he also discards Metamorphosis, 2 very strong cards, which Amma did lose here, and we do see a T-set by Sebastian, 1 set card and a set back row. Only a monster from Amma, so no Sebastian can again apply pressure, and we do see level 2 and Donzaluk! What a combination of cards, this is devastating! Level 2 gets rid of the monster from Amma, and Don can get rid of a card in his hand, which is a Mobius, which came out of the side deck, which doesn't do a lot here. And yeah, this was brutal. Ripping 3 cards from Amma's hand. Also getting rid of that set monster. Amma only left on 2 cards and his top deck. And also Graceful Charity, which comes down in main phase 2. I don't know why it comes down now. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you could have used it earlier probably. But it doesn't matter here because, yeah, Sebastian is in such an amazing spot. Discarding Trap Dust Shoot, which is now a dead card because Amma only on 2 cards in hand. And discarding Mirror Force, which is a very, very powerful card. So, and we have Pot of Greed as well. So this was full Trinity. Full Trinity turn 1 for Sebastian, or turn 2. It's like, wow. What do you do with your Amma? You're just sitting there. You can't really do anything against it. But Amma has to keep his concentration. Maybe there is a way out of that for him. He sets a card, and he again did top deck into a Thunder Ring in a tight spot where you probably want to see another card. Especially, it has to be frustrating to draw into Thunder Ring 2 turns after you got Dude and Donzaluk, because that would be the moments you want to have Thunder Ring in hand to send them to grave. But yeah, now they're coming. I mean, this at least means that the Donzaluk now will only get rid of Thunder Ring. And also Amma has a card which works wonders with Thunder Dragon, which is the Tribe Infecting Virus. So maybe that Thunder Dragon top deck was a blessing in disguise, because he can now use his priority to destroy both warriors on board, which are level 2 and Donzaluk respectively. So we don't see the summon being negated, so Prio is activated here, discarding Thunder Dragon, and now Sebastian is left wondering if he maybe wants to channel Torrential here. or do anything, maybe a Book of Moon, which is possible. And we do indeed see a Book of Moon on Osnabrück. And now Amma has to think about whether he wants to attack, and he does. And I believe you could have not attacked here because the battle trap was obvious. I mean, it wouldn't have mattered at all because it is a ring, so a ring destroys a tribe either way, if you attack or not. But in case it's a Sakuretsu armor or a Mirror Force, and we did see Sebastian discarding Mirror Force, so it's very likely that there was another battle trap. I believe not attacking there would be a bit better potentially, but the chance Sebastian has a monster to attack over tribe anyway is pretty high. But now Don gets to get in solely, discarding that last Thunder Ring in Amma's hand. We see a back row, and Amma is left on his back row and his top deck. He needs to find something good. And his back row was a Snatch Steal. And now he kind of turns the table with the Osnabrück. At least he tries, but he can't because there is a Sakuretsu armor being activated. And Amma sits on a Soul back row now. Sebastian on 4 or 5 cards in hand, I believe. I believe now it's 3 cards plus Blade Knight. This is so good for him. He gets to summon Blade Knight. No response from Amma to that. He sets 2 back rows to pump it up to 2k. But we do see Sakuretsu armor from Amma, which most likely came out of his side deck. He is again left with his top deck. He draws it, sets it right away. And Sebastian tries to apply pressure with a Kaiku, which gets Mirror Forced. So Amma keeps drawing into his battle traps, which keeps him into the game, but don't really help him advance the game set in his favor. But at least he is still alive and kicking. And he did set a monster, and Sebastian, for the first time in Game 3, was out of gas. So he just was able to set and pass. And now Amma is left wondering what to do with his set monster, what to do with his back row. Maybe he has a flip he can activate here now. Maybe he drew something useful, but he has something to play with at least. And it is a second Magician getting back Snatch Steal for Amma. So this is a potential good card for later to have. Does have Amma anything else to follow up? No, he just attacks Sebastian directly. Sets a back row, which is most likely not the Snatch Steal. No reason to set Snatch here. I mean, Call of the Haunted on Don would be devastating now, but it's the only way to bring Don back since Prem was already used this turn. Also, Duo is gone, so it's pretty safe to keep your Snatch Steal in hand. It's much safer in hand than it is on board. Again, no play from Sebastian. Amma switches his Magician back to defense and sets another back row. So maybe there is a way back to Amma. Very impressive how he and his deck hold himself into the game. It definitely shows why he was able to top 2 to go to complete Osnabrücks in a row. And Jar of Greed, getting him another Reforce, getting him deeper into his deck. So maybe there is a shot. It is not an easy one, but Breaker is a start. You can get rid of a resource of your opponent if your opponent lets you. And he does get rid of a Trap Dust Shoot, which is, a card which can't be used anymore this game. At least this copy. 1 fixed damage goes through. And Sebastian drops down to 3-5. So somehow, unlikely as it is, Amma is back in there. He can. It looked so dominant. It looked so hopeless for Amma. But Sebastian, he still has a lot more resources than Amma, so he should be in a better position. But he has no field presence, and he has to come up with something, and he has to do it fast because he's kind of sitting on the clock. Amma has Snatch in hand. He's Break on board. He dealt a lot of damage. Not an easy task here, but we do see Tribe, and Amma has 2 spellcasters on board, so Smashing is able to clear Amma's whole board. And yeah, now it looks great again for Sebastian. Tribe tries to attack, and Amma is left thinking. Like, you don't really want to flip goats here because you would lose it in main phase 2 regardless due to Tribe's effect. Maybe you want to do it if you figure you want to get rid of 1 card in Sebastian's hand. But yeah, no response to the attack. Sebastian is left with 2 hand cards, 2 on field, and his Tribe, while Amma has 3 cards in hand and a set. So we do know that Amma has Snatch Steal in hand, which he got back with Magician. He would be able to get to take control of the Tribe. He has some plays here. He actually has some options, and Mystical Space Typhoon hitting a Torrential Tribute. This is definitely a good option, especially because Mirror Force is also gone. So he does know that there is no mass removal from Sebastian, so he can maybe try to go for game here because he has a Chaos. He has a Chaos Lock, but he doesn't. And I think this was not aggressive enough. Again, like, he had Snatch in hand. He could have gone for game here. Torrential Mirror Force both gone. And now he gets Sasuke. And it was not a good play to summon that Chaos Lock in depth, even if you don't want to attack. Because of Sasuke, it can clear it out, and it forces Amma to discard his Snatch Steal with Rageki Break. He loses all his resources besides his Chaos Lock. I believe Amma could have won here at that point. He kind of had it. And now he doesn't anymore. Sebastian has a back row. And Sebastian is left thinking what to do with it. It seems to be something he can activate here. We have to be curious what it is, because it is Snatch! Amma had game! This is incredible! Amma could have gone for the game shot. Amma could have advanced to top 8, but he didn't want it to. I mean, he probably should have, because he was behind in resources. And there was nothing to fear because Murphy's Dimension were gone, but it's so easy to tell you that from the comfort of your own home. It's so easy to sit here and say he could have won, but making the play in that moment is very, very difficult. So we can't blame Amma for not finding it, but he had it. He had it in his hands. This shows how close GOAT games are, how close it is, how hard it is to perform consistently on a good level. And we do see Sorg attacking, but Amma has Dust Tornado. He found it as a top deck. And now he gets his Chaos Sorg back, but not for long, because Exile Force gets rid of it, and Amma once again is on top deck mode. He needs to find something. He finds a monster which he's able to set. Is this enough to protect him from the onslaught of Sebastian, which is probably about to come? And he's looking into his graveyard. This is not a good sign. Maybe he has BLS in hand and is able to summon it. We don't know yet. And Sebastian is thinking about it. And we do see a pre-major being activated. What do you get back here now? Do you get it back Blade Knight? No, you get back Kaiku. That's interesting. So maybe there's an option to get rid of that set monster from Amma. And it is a nobleman getting rid of Serpent. And now Kaiku can attack for 1-8, leaving Amma on only 1,200 life points. And on a top deck and a Dream. And like, you need to draw Goats here or Pot of Greed, otherwise there's no hope for you. Because Snatchy is already gone. You can't summon a Chaos with Kaiku on board. This is not looking ideal here for Amma. Maybe you can find a Spy to protect yourself with. But what else can you draw here? Sebastian was on the brink of defeat and is now sitting on the driver's seat. What does he want to do here? What does he want to do now? He's still thinking about what cards he wants to banish. And he does banish 2 Darks, leaving a lot of lights in Amma's hand. And now Amma needs to top deck. Can he find a tournament-saving top deck right now? He has to, or otherwise it is over. He looks at his cards. And he looks into his graveyard, so maybe he found something. We don't know. Let's see. He's looking at his card, and he's offering the fist bump. He drew into Drew, and that's it. Sebastian moves on to top 8 with an impressive showing over Amma. GG's to both players. What an exciting match here in the top 16 of GOAT Grand Prix Osnabrück. Hey, du hast es bis in die Endcard geschafft. Dankeschön, dass du dir mein Video bis zum Ende angeguckt hast. Und falls du den Kanal noch nicht abonniert hast, dann lass doch super gerne ein Abo da. Like das Video, wenn es dir gefallen hat. Lass einen Kommentar da. Ich versuche auf jeden Kommentar zu antworten. Und hier siehst du die Playlist, die zu diesem Video passt, sowie ein weiteres Video, was dir gefallen könnte.